The Elephant Six documentary is out now. For those who aren't fans of indie rock, it's hard to convey the importance of this label and the impact and influence it and the artists in its collective had on independent music of the late 90s through today. And with the new documentary, that influence is as strong as ever. I am Andy, and this is the FENSEPOST Vinyl Channel. In this video, I'm pulling albums by 5 bands from the Elephant Six collective. All of these have been pulled from my collection, and many of these albums weren't originally released on Elephant Six, but the bands in question stemmed from the label or its immediate sphere of influence. First, let's dig into, very briefly, Elephant Six. While Elephant Six originally started in Ruston, Louisiana, it ultimately found home in Athens, Georgia, the original home of REM. With Elephant Six, Athens became a mecca of independent music, with so many bands getting their start in the town and a number of underground labels calling it home as well. Elephant Six might be the most well-known of those labels, but it finds welcome company among others like Kindercore Records, which also released a number of great underground indie pop in the late 90s and early 2000s. And you have Happy Happy Birthday to Me Records, which continues to release indie rock, indie pop, lo-fi punk, and much, much more to this day. Both of these labels have deep, deep parallels to Elephant Six, and both will get further mentions in this video. I gotta start out with calling out a few honorable mentions, bands that aren't in my collection but really should be. First up is Beulah, which may actually be the first band from the collective I discovered back in about 2001 or 2002. The album was The Coast Is Never Clear from 2001, and it wasn't actually on Elephant Six. You have to go back to their debut album for that, 1997's Handsome Western States. That 2001 release led me back 2 years to their 1999 album, When Your Heartstrings Break, which I absolutely love. This one was also post the band's Elephant Six days. I mean, I remember truly getting obsessed with tracks like Opener, Score from Augusta, you've got the Midpoint, Ballad of the Lonely Argonaut, and my personal favorite, Emma Blowgun's Last Stand. That is an album I would love to see reissued. It's only been pressed once, but oh, how I would love to have that in my collection. Number 2, Olivia Tremor Control. Olivia Tremor Control featured founding members of Elephant Six, including Bill Doss, Will Cullen Hart, and Jeff Mangum. The only member missing was Rob Schneider. So you can't really talk about Elephant Six without bringing up this band. Still, I never really got invested in them, and they're one I need to listen to and explore quite a bit more. If you have a recommendation on which album to pick up first, let me know down in the comments, and I'll check it out. Okay, here are my 5 artists. Let's start, of course, with Neutral Milk Hotel. It's perhaps the most widely praised band from the collective, and right here is their sophomore LP, In the Aeroplane Over the Sea. It was released on Merge Records in 1998, and it blends lo-fi 90s indie rock with psychedelic folk. Fronted by Elephant Six founder Jeff Mangum, the album was produced by fellow founder Robert Schneider. The documentary goes into the history of this album quite a bit more. Like I said, this was the band's second studio LP following this one right here, On Avery Island from 1995, which was also released on Merge, where Olivia Tremor Control featured 3 of the 4 founding members of Elephant Six, and Neutral Milk Hotel was founding member Jeff Mangum's very influential project. The other member, Robert Schneider, well, his baby was always Apples in Stereo. I picked up the band's Velocity of Sound, closing in on 2 decades ago now. The album was released in 2002. I snapped up this copy about 2007 from the looks of this sticker. I also picked up a copy of Travelers in Space and Time back in 2010. Then there's this 7-inch single right here from the HHBTM, or Happy Happy Birthday to Me, Singles Club from 2007 to 2009. This features Apples in Stereo on one side and a Seattle band called Patience Please on the B. Back around the time of this release, I lived in Seattle and became friends with the members of Patience Please, attending quite a few of their shows and being a big fan of the band. And I was thrilled that they found themselves on this 7-inch as well. Another quite well-known name from the Elephant Six Collective is Of Montreal. A number of their early releases can actually be found on Kindercore Records. I'm not the biggest fan of their early, pre-2000 era work, as it gets a bit out there, but I do love this compilation from that era right here. It's called An Introduction to Of Montreal, and it includes one of my favorite songs from the band. It's a song called If I Faltered Slightly Twice. In my video where I talk about my favorite songs that are 10+ minutes long, I call out the song The Past is a Grotesque Animal, off the band's 2007 album Hissing Fauna, Are You the Destroyer? I mentioned that Of Montreal is at their best when they inject a lot of emotion into their songs, those heartfelt ones. And you get that a lot on Hissing Fauna. But you also get that right here on If I Faltered Slightly Twice. I think the best Of Montreal work was created in the trio of albums from the mid-2000s. First, you've got Satanic Panic in the Attic from 2004. The Sunlandic Twins right here from 2006, which was my introduction to the band. Hissing Fauna from 2007. Let me take a quick look at the vinyl on this one, because it's colored vinyl, it's white. This is I don't think it's a first edition, but I think it's an early reissue of Satanic Panic in the Attic. So good. Beyond those three and the introduction LP I shared, I have quite a few LPs and singles from Of Montreal in my collection, dating all the way back to the introduction and all the way forward to last year's Freewave Lucifer, which I've actually covered here on my channel. Number 4 is Elf Power. I have a few items from Elf Power in my collection, and one I'd really love to add to my collection. I'll start with the latter. It's called The Winter Is Coming from 2000, and by the turn of the century, it was the band's 4th LP. I should really have picked it up a few years ago when it was still in print, or at least when it was out of print and still had copies available at decent prices, like around $30 or so. These days, I'm not finding anything out there. So it's starting to become a bit of a grail for me. First off, I've got this 7-inch right here, the Winterhawk EP. This is from 1996, and it spins at 33 RPM. It's more of an EP. It's got 4 songs, and it's on Kindercore Records, which so many of the Elephant Six Collective bands found home on Kindercore as well. So this is kind of a cool one, and I do really like this EP. Their early stuff I haven't checked out too much of, but from what I've heard on this, excellent. The one that really hooked me into this band, like that of Montreal, was their 2006 album. It's called Back to the Web, and I've got it right here. And I'd argue that this is possibly their best album, though, like I mentioned, there are a few of the early ones that I haven't really checked out to their fullest yet. I just think this album has got some really solid tracks, and it's an all-around great, well put together, and very, very cohesive album. Let's take a look. You've got Come Lie Down With Me and Sing My Song, An Old Familiar Scene, so good. Somewhere Down the River on the B-side, The Spider and the Fly, and the title track concluding the album Back to the Web. All of these tracks are phenomenal. So number 4 on my list of bands I think you should check out from my collection that are on Elephant Six or had, something to do with the Elephant Six Collective is Elf Power. And that brings me to number 5. And I saved a good one for last. This is my original pressing of Everything is Green by the Essex Green from 1995. This is actually a split release on both Elephant Six and Kindercore Records, as you can see on the back of the sleeve. You've got Kindercore right here and Elephant Six over there. In fact, this might actually be one of the only items I have that's actually on Elephant 6 that's in my collection. It's a great blend of like psychedelic folk and indie pop, and even almost a hint of Baroque-ish type pop in there as well. And like a lot of Elephant 6 items out there, you don't really see many copies of this, and the ones you do see go for a pretty penny. I added this to my collection back in 2006, and it ran me just $5. So very, very cool score there. Plus it's on this cool translucent green vinyl. I mean, look at that. Very cool. There's my list. Let me know down in the comments which Elephant 6 artists you like the best, whether they're on my list or not. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, I would be honored if you subscribe to my channel and like this video. Down in the description, I will link off to a track from each of the bands featured here over to a video you can watch on YouTube. Finally, I will have a link over to my blog post where you can see images and read more words and dig a little bit deeper into the albums and artists I've covered today. And if you like Elephant 6 and the bands that were on it, I think you should check out this video right here from an Elephant 6 artist. Until next time, I am Andy, this is the FENSEPOST Vinyl channel, and I'll see you soon.